Good evening. We're going to go over the watch list for this week of 6/8/2020. Before I get started, I posted this on Friday. It's a chart of the put call ratio, and you can see that the put ratio is at like really low. Every time it gets low down here, there's a big pullback. So with the put to call ratio so low right now, I can see that probably this week, if not this week, maybe next week, that we're probably going to end up getting a big pullback. And I think the catalyst is going to probably end up being a second wave to coronavirus because of all the protesting going on. And so that's what I'm thinking. If you're going to get calls this week, just be cautious that at any time news drops or something, that everything could change. Right now, the futures are up 25 points. We're going to Fed this week, so I don't imagine the Fed would do too much. I think they'll probably leave the rates the same. It'll probably be choppy Tuesday and Wednesday, because it usually is before the FOMC meeting, so I don't imagine there'll be too much excitement on Tuesday or Wednesday unless something sends the market down. So the protests have been going on for almost 2 weeks, and they usually say that the coronavirus takes about 2 weeks to come into effect. So we should start seeing numbers this week, the end of this week, even next week. They should start skyrocketing because of all the mass protesting. I mean, there's like protesting all around the United States, hundreds of thousands of people protesting and getting close, and now it's all over the world. Berlin, Paris, London. I mean, it's all over the place. So I mean, the cases could just skyrocket like beyond belief. And today we hit 4,000 confirmed deaths today, and we're gonna hit 7 million confirmed cases probably tonight, because we're like, I don't know, like 50 short from hitting 7 million. So I hate being the bearer of bad news, but that's the reality of it. The reality is that people aren't social distancing. People are like going to protesting and being in large crowds of 10 to 100,000 of people at a time, getting close. Yeah, they got masks on, but masks only work so much. So masks aren't the be all end all. It's not going to protect you. It just reduces the risk. So with that being said, I'm gonna go over the bearish side first. Let me get rid of this so you get out of here. Let's see. The first one I have is BABA. Now I'm going to go the bearish side first, but if the market is weak, these are going to be the ones I'm going to look at. BABA, of course, because every time it gets into this 220 range, I mean, it rejected here, could reject here, but the market's strong. It could go up and retest the top of the Keltner channel, which is right around 230. So as you can see right here, it's pretty much doing the same thing right here. I mean, it can break out, but with the put to call ratio as high as it is, I don't think if there is any upside, there's not going to be much. There is something that's going to happen this week or next week that's going to change. It's going to change everything. So just be aware of that. That could possibly happen. Now, CAD is another one. CAD, I mean, it's really right out in the middle of nowhere. It filled in the gap right here on the daily. So, I mean, it gets actually. Let me get back to Baba. I jumped ahead before I even told the plan. So, if Baba is weak, I would get underneath. If he gets underneath 218, I would look for a pullback to probably the 209 area, to even the 206 right here. Looks like a good area. And usually when it pulls back from hitting the top of the Keltner channel, it usually goes to the bottom, so it could get down to 199, even under 200. So I would keep an eye on that if the market's weak on BABA for the week. CAD obviously is the next one. I mean, you can see right here, you get a descending triangle on the hourly in 30 minutes. And it's out in the middle of nowhere, outside the Keltner channel. Whenever it gets outside the Keltner channel, it usually likes to pull back and get inside it. So if the market's weak, CAD is another one I'd watch. And if it does, and as you can see, it filled that gap right there. And so I would look under 133 to fill the gap down to 128. And there's more a lot of momentum. It could even get down and fill this gap right here in the 123. So I'd definitely watch CAT. Now, if the news is really, really bad, I could see it definitely coming down here and filling the gap down here in a 115 area. So under this 133 area, under what you can say 133.50, go short for the gap fill. Now see that I'm looking at the futures right now. It was up 25 points. Now it's only up 11. It is pulling back right now. But as I was making the list, I just kept in mind the entire time how high that the put and call ratio is, and that's usually when there's a massive rug pull. So that's why I'm kind of like leaning towards the bearish side. Now BA, and then I have the Fibonacci's up. I mean, it hit 50% on the way up, but if the market's strong, BA could come up and fill the gap, which is at 61. Let me get this out of here because it's annoying to look at. It was just interesting. I saw that earlier. That if the market's weak, I would look under 200. Actually, under right here. Probably you could say 201. Under 201 to fill the gap, and possibly even fill the gap down to 172 if the market's really, really bad. But if the market's strong, it's probably going to go for a gap fill. So BA is one that could fill a gap. I'd want to look at if the market's strong. But if the market's weak, it's probably going to be one of the first ones I jump on. So we also have JP Morgan. It's same thing. Come up here and fill the gap. It's outside the Keltner channel. Like I said, when it gets outside the Keltner channel, they usually like to pull back a little bit. So I would look under 109.50 to fill the gap. Even if the market's really, really weak, to probably come back and test the 100 region. 100 level. So when it usually gets underneath that big psychological number, it usually gets bought up. So if the market's really weak, it could go below 100. So JP Morgan is one I'd watch on the short side. But if the market's strong, it's going to change the direction it is. So just be aware of that. McDonald's is another one. McDonald's, I mean, it's right up in here in $200. I mean, it rejected, what was the high of this? 215 cents. So it's a big psychological number, and you look at the daily, it's got a lot of resistance in here in the 200. So if the market's weak, this could be one that could pull back too. And if it does pull back, I would look at it to retest the 188. Even the 186, the middle of the Keltner channel on the daily. So McDonald's, I'd keep an eye on. Apple, obviously Apple's at all-time highs. It could keep squeezing. So, but if the market's weak, Apple and BA are going to be the first two I grab. So, let's see. Look at Apple's weekly. Apple could, like I said, it could keep squeezing. Could squeeze to 340, but. If there's any bad news that comes out with coronavirus or any other things that happen, because we have other things going on in the world that could, like North Korea and China trade deal, China poking basically with Taiwan. There's a lot of other unknowns. Anything that comes out that's really bad, or even the Fed that could send Apple or send the market down. Apple and BA are going to be the first two I grab. So QCOM is another one. The same thing. I mean, pretty much a lot of these have the same look. I mean, you can just pick and choose one or two you want to look, either Baba or CAT or McDonald's, and they're pretty much going to follow the market. You don't need to watch all of them. I'm just showing you a few. Under 88, QCOM's going to fill the gap to 86, even get to 84, and possibly retest this regression channel trend line I have on the hourly, and it respects it a lot. I mean, it rejects it, supports it. I mean, definitely whenever the price action gets far away from it, it usually comes back and retests it at some point. So I would definitely keep an eye on that if the market is weak. Now, if for some reason the market is strong this week, which I still think that something's going to happen. It may not happen tomorrow. Probably going to happen midweek, Wednesday, Thursday, even Friday. When Vegas is open, so when over 105, if it gets over 105, I mean, you get, let's look at the weekly. And this is the bullish side, by the way. So you can see there's tons of resistance right here in the 106, 105 area. That's where it started out, but we tested this previous support that it broke right here, but that was because the coronavirus was increasing. So if it does reject this area, it could send it back down. But with Vegas open and things opening up, and if the market is green, this is one thing that would probably break out and get into the 120. So I'd watch Win if the market's strong over 105. Actually over, 105. We can say 104.50, but 105, nice fat round number. And you get a gap up here into the 120. 127 area, so could it fill the gap? Yeah, it could, but I don't know. The market would have to be strong, and so, but Sharp is another one. I know a lot of people in the room love Sharp, and Sharp came back down and retested the regression trend line here on the daily, and he's got a little bit of a head and shoulders right here. It's possible that it could break down, but this is Shopify. It doesn't seem to want to have any weakness. It just keeps going and going. So if it gets over let's see, 743, I would say it could make a run to the 780s, and if it gets to the 780s and breaks out, go to 800. And Shopify is just like Lululemon. It just keeps going and going and going. It just doesn't, it's like a runaway train. It's just nothing's going to stop it. So Facebook is the next one. It's pretty much consolidating right in here. I mean, Facebook's going to end up being 300 at the end of the year, unless the coronavirus or something else sends the market into a massive sell-off. So tomorrow I'm gonna open up a hedge for a long term for when the market does decide to pull back. It's gonna pull back. I mean, it's gonna pull back either this week or next week. I mean, just my gut feeling. So. But Facebook, if the market's strong, over 232, it's over 232, it's going to retest this 240 all-time high again. Is that an all-time high? Or is it? Yeah, that's all-time high. So I would keep an eye on Facebook. So I like trading Facebook because the options are cheap and the spread is not bad. Now Amazon doesn't seem to care about coronavirus because it does well. But you get an ascending triangle right here, and if it does break out over this 224.90, it's probably going to make a run to all-time highs and even run to 2600. So I would keep an eye on Amazon AMZN for a breakout, and usually when Amazon breaks out, it's usually a substantial one, because like right here, it broke out of the head gap right here, and it broke out the gap resistance, and when it broke out right here, I mean, look at this run. 2045 to made a 250 point run in 4 days. So when it breaks out high. I'm not saying it's going to go to 2800, but I mean, I think it could definitely go to 2600 if it breaks out. So Amazon, I would definitely keep an eye on. Netflix, now Netflix has got conflicting patterns. It's going to be dependent on the market, if the market's weak, but if the market's weak or strong, sometimes Netflix just has a mind of its own. But I'm definitely looking at, it does a head and shoulders right here, but every time it gets down, it retests this 400 area. It likes to pop up. So if the market's strong, I would look for it over 420, over this 4. Let's see. Yeah, you could say anything over 422. It gets into the 428s. It could break out. If it breaks out, it's probably going to end up going to the 435. So I would definitely watch Netflix, but also be aware of that. I probably would not swing it, knowing that something's going to probably happen this week. Not sure which day. That I would be very cautious of this head and shoulders on the daily on Netflix. So, but I do like Netflix for if the market's strong. So Nvidia is another one. The semiconductors have just been going nuts. It's got the same kind of chart as Facebook. It gets over to the 360 area. It's going to retest this 367, assuming the market's strong. That's all-time high. And this is just like Lululemon and Shopify just keeps going, so there's really nothing stopping Nvidia. So if the market's strong and it does break out here, it's probably going to make a strong move. So definitely watch Nvidia. Roku, I've been watching this for like weeks, waiting and anticipating for a reversal, and it's been kind of tough to trade because it just hasn't. I mean, right here it bounced a little, rejected the middle Celt and made new lows, and it come up and it tested the middle Celt again. And you can see this line. I mean, look how well it holds this line, which is the regression channel trend line. I mean, bounces, 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 bounces. Then it rejects. It goes through it, but then it respects the middle Celt. But right here, it's right at the trend line. So, at the bottom of the Kelvin channel. So I do like Roku. If the market's strong over 105 for a push to at least 115. That's where it struggled last time, is at 115. If it can actually break this time, it can make a run to the 120s and even to the 130s. And Roku is one of those stocks, it's like BA. When it breaks out, it makes a strong move. Like, look right here, it broke out of this cup and handle, it gapped up, and when it did, it went from 102 to 130, made a 30-point move in 2 days. So when it has strength and it breaks out, it's usually really strong. That's why I've been keeping an eye on Roku. So I would definitely watch for that. Disney, on the other hand, I kind of like Disney short too, but I keep eyeing this gap right here, and if the market's strong, I think you should go for a gap fill. With things opening up and casinos opening up, and Walt Disney's the theme parks are opening up, even though they have restrictions, and cruise lines coming back. I wouldn't be a bit surprised if this comes and fills the gap, but if the market's weak. This will probably be one I'd have on radar to watch too, with Apple and BA and Baba. So just keep an eye on Disney. Let's look at the weekly though. Yeah, see the weekly, it's got a lot of resistance right here. Weekly resistance in the 130. That's going to be tough to get through. The market's going to need to be strong. But if it can get through that area, it's definitely going to fill that gap. So, but like I said, if the market's weak, Disney will probably be one of the few I look at. So Disney could go either way. It's kind of really, it got outside the Kelvin channel right here and pulls back in, so it could do the same thing. It has when these stocks pull outside the Kelvin channel on the daily, they like to come back at least within the channel, which is 2 standard deviations. So, and if it does, it can come back and retest the 120, even the 116 area if it does pull back, assuming the market's strong. So now, like I said at the beginning and throughout the video, the put-call ratio is very high. Not high, low. It's very low, and that's when you usually see a big rug pull. So don't be going in heavy calls. Be cautious. Be going small on calls. Be aware that at any time during the market hours or after hours, something big could happen that could send the market into a selling frenzy or a sell-off, and you don't want to be caught in it heavy. So just be aware throughout the entire week that the threat is there, if you want to say it, call it a threat. The threat of a big sell-off is there, and then you got the Fed on Wednesday, so that could end up sending it to, who knows what Powell's going to say. I would imagine the rates are going to change. Not change, they got to stay the same, so just be cautious of that too. It could be a strong Monday, and Tuesday, Wednesday could be choppy, and Thursday and Friday could be strong. So play accordingly, play smart. Know what the potentials are that could happen this week, because politics and the coronavirus are going to play a huge factor in what's happening. So be aware of what's going on politically and with the coronavirus, and that's going to pretty much do it. Thanks for watching.